So the SEE-Evote system is a electron-based system which is meant for conducting elections online. So it can be used by clubs and societies, can also be used by individuals or any other organization. So we have an about page which describes about what SEE-Evote system is all about. That is electron-based system, and the SEE-Evote system is secure and transparent. And this is because it relies upon Google's based database, which is secure. And this system, as I've described, is center-based and is scalable. For the few days that the system has been used within this week, it has seen so many changes, and that is all to adapt to what users or what clubs and societies need to conduct their elections in a fair way. So these are the steps an organization or a club or society will take in order to conduct elections using this system. So the first step is to learn the system. So that means they have to contact the administrator, someone from the society of electrical engineers, in order to learn the system. And after contacting that person, they can come to this page and go to the registration page where they will register their name, the organization, and send a formal request to use the system. Next, voters, upon being approved by the admin from Society of Electrical Engineers, then voters can register the same way an admin registered. And then the admin has to be approved, and lastly, they can conduct the election. Right, so let's see how you can register. So this is the registration page. It's very small, and those fields which have been put with an asterisk, those fields that are required. So for example, you have a voter's ID number. So basically this is your registration number, and then you have a password field, first name, last name, email, school, department, and program. So these fields are required, and the other fields are important, but you can leave them without filling. So after registering, and you have to make sure that you have agreed with the terms and conditions for using this system, which can be found on the terms page and the privacy policy page. So after registering, you'll be taken to a post registration screen. So a post registration screen is that screen where a user is supposed to choose whether they want to join an election or they want to create an election space. So if you are a voter, you have to select join an election. If you are an admin or coming from an organization and the one in charge of the election, you have to create an election space. So this is more like a request, right? So let's assume I'm an admin or an organization. I have to click on create election space, and there I have to fill the title of the election, the description, the organization ID or the organization name. So for example, those organizations that have already created an election space before their organization is already registered within the system. So for example, Mobile Students Innovation Hub, the Society of Electrical Engineers, they are all existing. So if you create your organization today, next year you won't have to create it again. Right? So next you have to specify the start date, which also contains the starting time of the election and the ending date and the ending time of the election. Lastly, you have to type the expected number of voters, because it's very important to fill this field. It helps us to know how many users are going to use the system and to determine if our system can support the workload. So lastly, you have to submit the request. So upon submitting the request, you have to wait for the admin from Society of Electrical Engineers to approve your request. So after being approved, you have your dashboard. So next, I'm going to log into to my system where you can see how the dashboard looks for an admin. So to log in, you just go to the login page, and in the login page here you have to type your email address and then your password. Okay, so when you log in successfully, you have access to all the elections that you have conducted, whether as an admin or as a voter. So once you register within the system, you can have different roles depending on which organization you are in. So for example, in these two organizations here, Society of Electrical Engineers and Mobile Students Innovation Hub, and I'm an admin in both elections. Right, so this is because I requested to be an admin and I was approved. So when you have an approved status, you have this check and active status, and you have an election token which will be used by voters to sign into that election space. So if this only happens when you're approved. So if you're not approved, here you have a status of pending. So I can go into this dashboard by just selecting enter dashboard. So once I get into the system here, there are many things that are going on, and the first thing that you see is the summary of the election. So you also see the positions, candidates, results, analytics, and activity logs, and many other things. But the most important thing that you need to do as an admin is to go to positions and add those positions. So you add a position just by clicking this add position button, and then after adding those positions, you go to candidates page where you add the candidates to their respective positions. Now, when that is done, the next thing that you need to do is go to the voters side. So the voters side, this is where you see all those people who have requested to be voters for your election space. So this provides you the rights in order to approve or disapprove someone who is requesting to be a voter for your election space. So you can just click on manage here, and if you want to disapprove someone, you just click disapprove, and their status will be changed. They will be rejected. And if you want to approve them, you just click on approve and they will be approved. So this is one of the security features we have within the system in order to make sure that the one who is voting has the right to actually vote. So this is the summary of how you can use the admin dashboard for someone who has requested this system. But other than that, we have another interesting area, which is the analytics. Okay, so the analytics provides you with the many features that can help you analyze how your election is being conducted. So you can see in real time how many voters have voted, have casted their votes. How by using graphs you can visualize how the distribution of the votes in each and every position, and when or at what hour were most votes casted. So you can see all those activities, and you can also see the competition level on each and every position. So and then you don't have to type the results on your own. You can just export a PDF or a CSV file or a JSON. If you're a developer, you can actually extract this data and use an application to display it. So you can use PDF, JSON, or CSV file. So this is some of the features within the system for admin. While if you are a voter, you have to do the same. First of all, you have to register an account and you have to apply the same details that an admin would apply. But then on the page of post registration, you have to select join election. So let's see that on the post registration screen, where we have two options, join election and create election space. You just have to select join election, and when you click on join election, you have one field which is election token, and you just have to type that election token. For example, this token is from the one that is on your dashboard of the admin. So the admin can just copy that and share it to the voters, and then they can use this token to sign in here. And once they type that election token, they can click on join election, and then they'll be directed to their own dashboard for a voter. So once they're in the voters dashboard, they can go to the voters dashboard. That is after being approved by the admin for that election. So let's see how you can log in as an admin. So in the same way you log in as an admin, you can also log in as a voter. So you just have to type your email address. So from my email address is okay. So after successfully typing in everything correctly, you should be redirected to your query screen. So for a voter, so once I log in, this is my voting dashboard. So you can see here that my role is a voter, and you only see the active status when you have been approved by the admin. Other than that, you can see this screen, but you can't go into the dashboard. So you also have access to the election token here, and you can click on enter dashboard. So if you enter dashboard, you will see a dashboard for a voter, and here you can cast your vote. Right. So before you cast your vote, the first thing that you need to do is go to the voting guidelines, and here you read the instructions on how you can vote. So it just consider it's a list of general instructions on how you can vote and things that you need to keep in mind when you're voting. So then after doing that, you can just go to the screen for the casting your vote. So you can either click on cast vote here or click on this window, then cast your vote. So from here, you're going to see the list of positions and the candidates on those positions. So you can only submit your vote when you have selected all the candidates. So in summary, this is the most basic features on the system. However, there is another way in which a user can also create an account on the system. So instead of going through the registration process by using the registration screen, you can also register or have access to an election space when the user has a voting ID, which is another way to cast your vote instead of registering. So this is also known as anonymous signing. So in this case, you are given a voting ID and you already have an election token. So these voting IDs are generated by the admin of the election space. So once you have that voting ID, you can put it there, and then the election token. Once you do this process, you won't have to be verified because these IDs are already verified. You go straight to your election space, and you cannot have access to other election spaces because these IDs are specific for that election. So all in all, this is how the system works. So this is SEE-Evote System. Use it whenever you need an online-based solution.